Want to win an Xbox One? Enter our 100,000 subscriber giveaway. All you have to do is like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. The UFC press conference for some fighters is second only to the fight itself in terms of its importance to your overall career. Many times in the past, heroes have been made on that stage through the various feuds, jokes, and one-liners that have sprung up in those tense moments shared between these athletes. However, it doesn't always turn out how you'd expect, and when you turn into a UFC press conference, more often than not, fans are left cringing as a result of either the questions being given by reporters or crowd members, or the fighters end up just making themselves look silly by saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I'm D Wicked from Watch MMA, and here's 10 of the most embarrassing press conference moments of all time. Number 10, Jeremy Stephens. It's funny how one decision, one small mistake can become the most widely spread moment of your entire career. For Jeremy Stephens, who's amassed more than a few vicious knockouts on his resume over the years, one lapse in judgment was enough to earn him a label he may never shake off. During a major UFC press conference that featured the former two-weight world champion Conor McGregor, Stephens inadvisably decided to use a momentary gap to take a shot at one of the sharpest tongues in the game, calling himself the hardest hitting 145-pounder, before being completely dismantled by the Irishman in 6 simple but instantly iconic words.
This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't move. Who the is that guy?
Need we say any more? Number 9, Dana White. This next moment proves that even UFC president Dana White can be left looking quite silly on occasion. Standing in an unenviable position between UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones and the powerful contender Anthony Johnson, White was no doubt aware of Jones's relatively recent media day brawl with his great rival DC. Though there didn't seem to be any real animosity between Jones and Rumble, things quickly span out of control as the two started to push each other, leading to a panicked Dana forcing himself between the two fighters in an attempt to avoid another ugly incident. In the end, the entire thing was a prank played by the two friendly rivals in an attempt to rattle White, and all in all, it looks like it worked. Number 8, Holly Holm. Being a notable public figure is tough. When your name is known to the masses, you have to be prepared for everything from ridicule to adoration. However, in the case of the former UFC women's bantamweight champion Holly Holm, she was forced to sit through one fan's attempt at lovingly serenading her in the lead up to her first defense of her championship belt at UFC 196. Jesus. Dude, leading the crowd in the rendition of the classic hit Can't Take My Eyes Off You, the preacher's daughter was left red in the face as her biggest fan took a moment to really make that camera's glare more intense than ever before.
I wanna hold you so much, and love has a vibe. I thank God.
Number 7, Anderson Silva. Chael Sonnen's no stranger to making his opponents look like a fool, and while his sharp tongue, in this case, wasn't directly aimed at the two-time rival Anderson Silva, the bad guy was able to completely ridicule Silva's coach Ed Soares with one of the funniest rants to date. Questioning the Spider's need for an interpreter, given that Anderson, to the best of his knowledge, spoke English, Chael proceeded to suggest that he replace Soares with a handy phone application to speed up the process.
Are we in here? This is the strangest thing I've been part of. You know, people ask me if I wanted to go to Brazil for the fight. Sure, it'd be neutral territory.
Number 6, Chad Mendes. At this point in time, Chad Mendes has not yet been signed to take on the rising featherweight force that was Conor McGregor. However, during one media appearance featuring him and the Irishman, Mendes decided to attempt to set up McGregor for a dig at his wrestling chops. Asking Conor his height before inquiring about his understanding of wrestling, things quickly backfired on the alpha male contender, as McGregor was able to turn the joke on its head, telling him in response that he could rest his balls on his forehead. A clear dig at the height of the short but undoubtedly talented Mendes, and the rest, as they say, was history.
I match up horrible for this guy. Conor, do you know what wrestling is?
I could rest my balls on your forehead.
Yeah, I know.
Number 5, Joseph Rogan. Just because he does his work from the comfort of the cage side commentary, but it doesn't mean that UFC color commentator Joe Rogan is free from ridicule. Have you seen his comment section? During a live Q&A appearance with the fans, the famed podcast host was asked by a crowd member how he would fare against him in a wrestling match. After jokingly accepting, Rogan asked the fan what he would get for successfully tapping him out. Not to be outdone, the fan responded by telling Joe he would rather black out than tap out, earning himself a huge laugh from the crowd and in many ways, well and truly beating the comedian to the punchline.
If you win,
What happens if you tap? That's all I want to know. What do I get?
I black out before I tap out, bitch.
Whoa.
Number 4, Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold has had his fair share of verbal slip-ups under the glare of the camera lens, but perhaps his most famous of them came during the lead-up to his UFC 199 rematch with Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. Seen by many as a huge favorite in the bout, Rockhold spoke directly to the crowd about his self-belief and general philosophy as a fighter, championing the idea of visualization and believing in yourself in an effort to send something of an inspirational message to his fans. Unfortunately, Bisping just so happened to be sitting to his left, uttering the now 5 iconic words that would eventually serve as the intro to his popular podcast, Believe You Me.
I know what I'm going to do. I know that I'm better than this.
Sounds like the worst self-help book you've ever read. Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up. Listen.
Number 3, Jorge Masvidal. This next clip goes to show that even the most cool and calculated of fighters can be caught out by the right gag. UFC featherweight Chase Hooper, who is the youngest fighter on UFC's roster today, pretended to be the son of Jorge's bitter rival Ben Askren in the wake of Gamebred's record-setting 5-second knockout of the Funky One at UFC 239. Asking the welterweight contender, "Why did he do that to my dad?" Masvidal appears to be genuinely shocked for a moment, apologizing to his fellow UFC athlete before being informed that he was, in fact, on the receiving end of a prank. It was simple, effective, relevant, and easily one of the funniest MMA moments of the year.
My father is Ben Askren. Shout out.
What? Hey, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to, bro. That's really your dad?
No.
Oh, okay.
Number 2, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is a man who is very much used to being the hammer and not the nail when it comes to the pre-fight trash talk. However, upon being signed to take on Nate Diaz on short notice at UFC 196, it appeared as though the Irishman had finally met his match. Nate's overall demeanor didn't change in the slightest upon being relentlessly jabbed by the then featherweight champion, and then shockingly, he was able to turn the tables on his opponent, asking him about his seemingly shallow supply of genuinely world-class training partners. Diaz proceeded to win the exchange hands down by pointing to Conor's movement coach, calling their training playing touch butt in the park with that dork. Sure, he'd also go on to win the contest by second round submission, but we all think it's fair to say that Nate went 2-0 over McGregor on that day.
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park, the ponytail. And I'm the one who ain't got no training partner? I don't think so. You seem to have it all figured out when you're fighting midgets.
And number 1, Robbie Lawler? It's not always the fighters who end up embarrassed at these press events. In the wake of Robbie Lawler's legendary 5-round war with Carlos Condit at UFC 195, one journalist took the mic in order to question the veteran about the overall fight. An understandable angle, of course. Robbie was one of the stars of the show, and by the look of things, no one had yet questioned him about his monumental win. Unfortunately, the fighter he questioned was, in fact, Albert Tumanov with a cap on, leading to one of the most painfully hilarious moments you could imagine, as even Dana White began to ridicule the reporter for not being able to differentiate between one of the greatest welterweights of all time and a rising contender who hadn't cracked the top 10.
Oh, you thought that was Robbie Lawler?
With the beanie, it threw me off. My bad.
You cover this sport? You thought that was Robbie Lawler?
And those are 10 of the most embarrassing UFC press conference moments of all time. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe, channel notifications, ring that bell.
This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't move. Who the is that guy?
I wanna hold you so much, and love has arrived. I thank God.
Are we in here? This is the strangest thing I've been part of. People ask me if I wanted to go to Brazil for the fight. Sure, it'd be neutral territory.
I match up horrible for this guy. Conor, do you know what wrestling is?
I could rest my balls on your forehead.
Yeah, I know. So,
If you win,
What happens if you tap? That's all I want to know. What do I get?
I black out before I tap out, bitch.
Whoa.
I know what I'm going to do. I know that I'm better than this.
Sounds like the worst self-help book you've ever read. Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up. Listen.
My father is Ben Askren. Shout out.
What? Hey, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to, bro. That's really your dad?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park, the ponytail. And I'm the one who ain't got no training partner? I don't think so. You seem to have it all figured out when you're fighting midgets. You got
Bring your training partners in. You're gonna need them.
my whole team, jiu-jitsu guys.
Oh, you thought that was Robbie Lawler?
With the beanie, it threw me off. My bad.
You cover this sport? You thought that was probably lawless.
You're alive. You're just too good to be true.